We have to want to be healthy. And that speaks to what you talked about earlier, Lee, about kind of the psychology of people with autoimmune. We are people who are, we do hide from life. We don't have high emotional intelligence. We're not a resilient bunch. And when we get an autoimmune disease, I know this, no one talks about it, but it is the perfect excuse out of everything that you don't want to do in life. I didn't have to go out and date. I didn't have to try as hard at work. I didn't have to go to school when I didn't want to. I didn't have to go to family events. My friends wanted to go out. I had the perfect excuse. I had a flare up. I mean, we are people who inherently are looking for a way out of life because life feels scary, because we don't feel like we're ill prepared to handle it. So then we have an autoimmune disease. We have the perfect excuse. No one's talking about, can you see the challenge here of wanting to actually get better? I mean, I'm going to be honest, I didn't want to get better for a long time, so I pretended like I wanted to get better. And I put on a big show and got a lot of attention from people. Hooking myself up to the plasma infusions, poor me, and taking all my supplements and bringing my special foods to, restaurants and dinners. Poor me, I'm so ill, I can't eat anything. I mean, but I knew inside I was an emotional wreck, and I was hiding from life, and had some awful behaviors that were very obviously causing me to feel bad about myself. Like, I didn't really want to get better because I liked the excuse that I had with my illnesses. And I find for people that the biggest roadblock that most have in healing is themselves, and the very real threat of, can I do my life without these diseases? Who am I going to be if I don't have this excuse anymore? What is life going to look like if I don't have this security blanket to hold myself in? And I like to tell people, hey, I get it. It's okay. And if someone had told me that, I've been really mad at them. But everyone I've shared this with who has autoimmune, they're like, oh, you know the secret. I'm like, yeah, I know the secret. I used to have autoimmune. I know what you're doing. So we have to overcome ourselves and realize that it's so much more challenging to live life hiding and ill prepared for life and putting on a front and scared and making up excuses and trying to get attention through unhealthy ways. It's so much easier just to be a normal, healthy person, feel good about yourself, have the tools and skills that you need, and go out into life to grow and to learn and know you're going to be just fine. But we have to trust ourselves. It's okay to leave the illness nest. And so many don't want to leave that nest. And you have to be ready to fly out of that nest to actually heal. Because if you don't really want to get better, nothing you will do will ever work. And that's something that no one talks about that's really important for healing out there.
Yeah, what you just described, I call the illness currency. I don't know if you've heard that
I
term
haven't
used
heard
before.
that term, but that's very interesting. The illness currency, yeah. Does you mean kind of like the give and the take? The I call it the benefit, but the benefits that you get from being a person who identifies as a person who's sick, whether that's chronic illness, whether that's maybe depression, or whether that's an autoimmune disease. They're all coming from the same place.
Yeah, what I think for some people, where that comes from, obviously in the first 7 years of life, our brain, the brain waves that we have are kind of, in accordance with like a hypnotic state. So we don't really have the ability to adapt, if you like, to our environment. What happens is our environment just gets downloaded into our brain, right? So when you're young, I mean, most people start school at 4 or 5 years old. Now all of a sudden, they're not with their mother all day, right? Which I guess to most people that age is quite a shock, right? Because all you've ever known is being with your mum, right?
Right.
But you realize that if you're sick, you get to spend all day with your mum and you don't have to go to school.
Did you read my biography, Lee?
No.
Yep.
So obviously at a subconscious level, your mind, your subconscious mind is a million times more powerful than your conscious mind.